I can tell you that after I spoke up, after I said some things to my chain of command with regard to my concerns, after others said things to the chain of command about their concerns about the investigation, myself and John Dodson specifically, we were transferred from the group. We were placed in positions away from the investigation itself, denied access to the investigation. And I would view that as a measure of control, and I guess if you want to call it cover-up, that'd be an accurate statement. Working the chain of command was difficult. We had been told that, or I wasn't present when it happened, but had been told that one of the ASACs, I believe it was Mr. Gillette, had responded to agents Dodson and Casa and other agents in the group who spoke up about concerns about guns being walked. And they were given direction that that wasn't what was happening. And I think the term that's been referred to, or the quote used by the media, has been, if you want to make omelets, you got to scramble a few eggs, or something to that effect. And so the chain of command became largely unavailable to me in particular. So I addressed it with my group supervisor, David Voth, and asked him to address the conduct of the case agent. I viewed it in very limited focus as being, there's some things happening with this case agent and the way that these investigations are being conducted and the way documents are being handled that I didn't think were appropriate. Nothing happened. Frustration mounted both from myself and from people in the office. Repeated requests to the supervisor to address these issues didn't happen. I've been with ATF for 12 years. I've been in law enforcement for 26 years. I've always been about stopping crime. I view it as my duty to serve the public, to protect the public, both now as a special agent and formerly as an officer in the United States Army. Protect and serve. And I didn't see what was happening in the Fast and Furious investigation as protecting and serving. So I went out and, with the assistance of some other agents in the group who were like-minded, we started interdicting guns and making arrests. Within days of an interdiction of my interdiction of guns and making an arrest, I was notified, not by my chain of command, but by a staff member, an intel research specialist, that I was being transferred. In fact, I was actually in training in El Paso, Texas, learning how to combat southwest border firearms trafficking, and I was tapped on the shoulder and congratulated about my transfer from being in a field enforcement position to a senior operations administrative position within the division. Not a promotion. That position was largely, and I don't know if it still is now, but at the time was largely viewed as a punitive move, was largely viewed as somewhere where people go to be disciplined or terminated. In fact, my predecessor in that position was in fact terminated by the agency prior to my taking that role. So I had a great deal of concern about my security, my job security, and my job. The real motivation, as I see it, is I think that it was a flawed strategy. I think that to give some I don't want to say credit, but to give some recognition to the persons who worked that case, I think that the agents were trying to do something to actually what they thought legitimately investigate and stop the flow of guns. But it was short-sighted. It didn't anticipate, the strategy was flawed. They didn't anticipate the consequence. I don't know how you couldn't anticipate the consequence. I think that they thought that they could send enough guns that ultimately they're going to figure out where they're going, and they're going to be able to arrest people along the way and eliminate a cell or a trafficking lane of firearms. The problem is that fails to consider the harm to the public, the threat to the Mexican people, which we don't talk a lot about that, but I'm aware that other media entities and Fox have covered it, and there are a number of deaths in Mexico that are directly being attributed to this investigation. I don't have any personal knowledge of that. I hear it in the media, and if that in fact is true, that's horrific. That's horrible.